All right. Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us for our District 10 community office hours that we've been hosting all my 8 years in office twice a month. And this is our Wednesday morning office hours. My staff is here this morning, standing by to help you with any questions that you may have. So if you have any on Zoom, enter them in the question and answer section. And if you have them on Facebook, write them in the comments. The November edition of our newsletter is out today, and then it's filled with resources and upcoming virtual events. So if you don't get the newsletter, sign up at sjd10.com. So with that being said, let's give you some updates on what's happening in our city. So the city will be closed on November 11th in observation of Veterans Day. So the first thing is, actually it's closed physically, but a lot of people will be taking the day off on November 11th. The Yamadan Valley Community Association, otherwise known as AVCA, is having their monthly meeting next Monday, November 9th, and hearing from two organizations providing solutions to the crisis with a crisis. Addressing poverty and homelessness in San Jose. So please tune in and for an understanding of what's being done about homelessness and hunger. The Almaden community shade structure is in the courtyard and it's been installed. And I don't know, does my staff have the image or should I share it off on my screen? Let me try. Who knew? Okay, let's see. Can everybody see that? I hope so. It looks beautiful. We've been wanting to have this shade structure up for a long time, and it's finally the case. So it'll keep you a little bit dry, but as you can see, it's a sales, and then the summertime it'll provide some much needed shade. So thank you to the staff for getting this done, and what I feel is a record time. I think they've done a really good job. We've also had some great news in our pretty soon we'll be opening, I think at the end of this month, we'll be opening our community garden, the first community gardening in District 10 at the Marshall Cottle Park. That was a long time coming. We had to work and negotiate with the county for over 5 years. Construction started already and it'll be done probably by the end of November. So stay tuned for a ribbon cutting on that one. And the Branham Lane land swap, that's something I've been working on from day one. It's been a long time. So we've negotiated with the county to release a strip of land at the northern end of Marshall Cottle Park off of Branham Lane. Now, Branham Lane in that area between Snell and Vista Park narrows from a two lane in each direction to a one lane in each direction. We used to get we still get a lot of accidents and fatalities on that strip because people race to get ahead of one another. So we now did a land deal with the county to allow us to expand that narrow strip to 2 lanes in each direction and provide a crosswalk and a stoplight. And so now it's up to the future council to get the money to do the actual paving of the expansion of Branham Lane. So it's been a hard-fought effort, and we finally got it across the finish line thanks to our real estate staff and the hard negotiations. It was not an easy effort to negotiate with the county on that land deal. I know that a lot of people have been rightfully upset about how ugly and dirty our highways are, and I introduced a memo with 4 other council members to ask Caltrans to do more and to see if they could partner with the city of San Jose to help clean up the properties, and basically we'll send them the bills. That effort has yielded some quick responses, and now we're moving forward with a lot of cleanups on intersections. And I the other day I drove by Almaden Expressway and Highway 85, and I did see them cleaning that up. So Kudos to our staff for acting on that memo, and more to come on that. We also passed a $3 million increase in our cleanup and in the budget for illegal dumping. And so a lot more cleanups are happening around the city. And also some of the homeless encampments have received garbage containers and garbage bags so that they can help our city clean up the areas where they inhabit. So a lot is being done in that area. I hope to see some physical results soon. And I know that they're already working on places near Monterey and Branham in our district and in other places. So our city is working really hard to help fight the blight, and I'm really proud of the efforts that we've been making. Well, that's the end of the updates. And joining us today are the Friends of Guadalupe Oak Grove Park. Now, we have Star Taylor is the president of the group, and I understand you have a presentation for us. And actually, I know that Star will be introducing Dave Purcell and Lee Pauser, and they've worked on a short presentation. It's about 10 or 15 minutes. Is that and so all three of them are going to present us with things. I have to tell you, Guadalupe Oak Grove Park was a place that I used to walk before I was a council member, because it's a beautiful little gem in the middle of housing, and I've always loved that area, and I'll let you know what's happening and why the Friends are adopting it, and we'll take it from there. You guys ready to do your presentation?
We are.
Okay, wonderful.
Hi,
Welcome. Welcome. I'm going to silence my microphone while you guys talk.
Great. Well, it's been a couple of years now that the Friends of Guadalupe have been a group in San Jose for the park. It started with the resources that you provided, Khamis, with getting information about the park, with H.G. Harvey being a consulting company working with how we can make the park a better place, a healthier park. And, with their help, they've assisted letting us know on what would be better, where we should plant trees, where we should consider wildflowers, how we should manage the park. And so we've been doing that as a Friends group. And I think we've been pretty successful as to seeing some of the good progress over the last couple of years that we've been a group. And mainly, I wouldn't have been able to do it without Dave and Lee and a number of people in the group that have been doing the work behind the scenes, managing and participating in making it as beautiful as it is. Lee has for decades been putting up bird boxes, helping with the different diversity of the avian world, where it didn't have the diversity that it does. So when you enter into the park, if you're interested, you'll see a variety of birds because of the hard work that Lee has done. And Dave has been there treating the trees and spending time pulling seed from the park in order to plant wildflowers. And it's been great to work with them and to learn from them everything about the park and beyond. So Lee and Dave, anything else you'd like to say? Sure.
Sure, I'll go ahead and step in. And so, there was a long history of the park, which we couldn't talk about further, that spurred the interest in creating the Friends of the Guadalupe Oak Grove. And so I would just like to remind folks that we do have this group, and everyone is welcome to help us and join. And you can follow what's going on in the park through our Facebook page. I'll try to share it now so you see what we're talking about. I hope you can see this Facebook page. We post notice when we do events out at the park, but it's also a great place for us to share some beautiful photos that people get, including all you folks out there in the neighborhood. So check out the Facebook page. It's simply Friends of the Guadalupe Oak Grove Park. And we should probably give you some background as to where this park is, because it's a beautiful little gem that a lot of people don't know exists. It's in the northern part of the Yamadan Valley, completely surrounded by suburbs. And I've been surprised, you just go out a couple of blocks and people aren't aware of it, but it is such a beautiful little remnant of the valley floor oak woodland that once covered all of Santa Clara Valley, or most of the Santa Clara Valley. So actually, I wonder if this will work.
Dave,
Yeah.
Dave, I have some pictures to show everyone what it used to look like.
Okay,
If you
so
don't
yeah,
mind.
we'll step back in history a little bit, but here's a map that you can see where it's located. Let me, okay, well, maybe I'll let Lee talk about the history a little bit. And we have some other things to share as well. And if I can find my unshare button. How did, uh-oh. Just a minute. Or do you want to go ahead and speak, Lee, while I try to figure out how to unshare
Yeah.
my,
It should be towards
oh,
the
here
top.
it is. I see it up at the top.
Okay, now I'll have to find out how to share my screen if you don't mind, please.
Yeah, bottom green button. So this park became a park in 1987. Was never developed, never farmed. So it is a remnant of the oak woodlands and oak savanna still. But when becoming a park and with the development of suburbs, the natural forces that once occurred, wild fires and large herds of animals, and even in the ranching period, there's no longer cattle grazing and stuff. So that has affected the park as we've gone through time.
I don't know if everybody can see my screen or not.
Yes, we can. It looks like you've been
Okay.
successful. Yes.
All right, if you see this sign, you have arrived at the park. And it is right off Thorntree Drive. And Dave already pointed out where the park is. The park consists of about 63 acres or 25 hectares, if you're into that. It opened in 1987 as a regional park, which meant that the park was gated. It has fencing all the way around it, and it was staffed by a full-time ranger. So at that time, the park was just beautiful. The ranger was taking care of it. This is from 2001, but this is a view of the park the way it used to look. And in parts of the area, parts of the park, it was an open woodland. What makes the park unique is there's more than 3 oaks, but 3 oaks primarily make it an interesting combination. We have the coast live oak, we have the valley oak, and the blue oak. And it's especially the blue oak that makes the park unique, because the blue oak is growing down in the valley floor where it normally isn't. Normally it grows on hillsides. So over the years, the blue oak has actually crossbred with the valley oak, and the shapes of the leaves have changed. There's only one area like it in the Bay Area, and that would be up near the Stanford Dish. Many years ago, I started calling this park one of the city's crown jewels. And we would walk our dog in the park. We enjoyed it. We saw lots and lots of wildflowers. This is a shooting star, which we no longer see in the park. It takes 7 years before it even blossoms. And this is a mixture of lupin and fiddleneck. So we used to see lots and lots of flowers in the springtime. And in 2002, I took over a trail of nest boxes that Dave Bushell had started. So this is a Audubon effort, and this is an example of one of my hanging nest boxes and the retriever that I used to put it up and take it down. So over the years, since 2002, I've fledged about 1,400 birds. I currently have about 30 nest boxes in the park. This is a shot of 7 western bluebird eggs inside a nest box in the nest that the female had built. And here are some bluebird nestlings. They are 21 days old and they fledge at around 21 days. The next day they were gone. You can see berry stains inside the box, so that's an indication that they've been bringing elderberries into the box to feed to the nestlings. So again, the park used to be just stunning, just a jewel. And then in 1978, Proposition 13 passed and the park was downgraded to a city park. And basically what that meant from my view is the restrooms were cleaned and the trash cans were emptied and nothing else was done by the park maintenance people to the park. The jewel started becoming tarnished. We watched it decline over the years. The wildflowers disappeared. Wildlife, we used to see deer, we used to see great horned owls. We don't see that anymore. The Coast Live oak, one of the 3 oaks primarily in the park, is a non-deciduous oak, and it grows 3 times faster than the valley oak. And over the years, it is now crowding out the valley oak and the blue oak. So we're making efforts to reduce the number of Coast Live oaks in it. Dave hopefully will get into that more later on when he shows his own map. So over the years, I saw the park in decline. The jewel was becoming tarnished. I worked with Pat Dando, met with Pat Danjo, I met with rangers, I met with supervisors in the park to talk about what could be done about the park. I was even an Adopt a Park volunteer for a year. And then in 2002, Pat Pizos, who some of you may know, took a tour of the park. And after that tour of the park, he wrote a really long letter about all of the things that should be done to the park. And I pretty much agreed with it. Dave at this time was off doing his own thing in the park, his own goals. And we really didn't get together to concentrate on the park until around 2002, after Pat got involved in it. And after Pat got involved, we had numerous meetings with parks people, oak woodland experts, D10. One of our meetings was with Johnny and his staff. We gave them a tour of the park and we talked about what was happening in the park, what we want to do about it. And Johnny funded the authoring of a maintenance plan for the park. So with the maintenance plan, we're able to follow the maintenance plan and do many of the things that we wanted to do. And Johnny also funded H.T. Harvey to actually begin some of the work. So Dave, this might be a good time for you to step in and talk.
Sure. Okay. Well, so again, to reiterate, first of all, this is an absolutely gorgeous park. Today, it still is. Some of us have seen some changes that have concerned us. And that comes about from the fact that we have lots of weeds, that are invasive plants that come in, and California landscapes have been altered over hundreds of years, from the indigenous people doing controlled burns, and then being when they were displaced by the Spaniards and their mission system, in the Mexican system with their ranching, again, more changes occurred. And when the Spaniards came in with their cattle, it had a dramatic effect on California landscapes. The cattle, in addition to their grazing and these lands were grazed by, formerly large herds of elk and such, but the cattle brought in the European grasses that was their initial feed. And these European grasses have spread throughout much of Northern California. And they're annual grasses that grow really fast and thick and then die. Whereas we still do have some of our native California grasses that tend to be perennial. But at any rate, these thick grasses need some sort of management. Otherwise, they alter what's able to grow there, including many of the native wildflowers that we've expressed concern about seeing fewer of, and making it more difficult for the oaks to regenerate. And so that's part of our desire to improve the park or restore the park to its natural beauty by controlling these invasive grasses, so that we can have more wildflowers, so that the oaks can regenerate. And so now we're primarily run by volunteers, and we have some fun volunteer events. And I would like to share with you some of our, let's see, some photos of our events. Let's see, so you get some idea of what I'm referring to. So we've brought in goats to help clear the grasses. We've had events with sheep, which
I think it's tough to see the pictures you're putting up. It looks like it's a file.
Okay, let me hang on just a moment, please. I'll try another technique. I'll bring up the photo, and then I'll try to stop my share and then start a share of this photo. Let's see if that works. Is that any better?
Yes.
Or is it messy with the rest of my background?
It's good.
Okay,
Very good.
so you can see an example. We've brought in some animals to help thin the grasses down. And so that's one type of event that we've done. But we also have volunteers come in and help us, and we would love to have your help. We're doing a volunteer event where we're planting acorns on November 15th. So I keep forgetting how to stop these shares. I'm going to try to show kind of the activities we're doing here. Come on. Just to give you an example of the kind of thing. So when you see this hill, we had it cleared of the tall grass and the particularly invasive weeds. And so part of the problem with those grasses in terms of, they inhibit some of the native flowers and trees that we'd like to grow. But there also can be a fire hazard. And so a lot of this is a balance of trying to do some fire maintenance so that we don't have catastrophic fires. If something does get started, it'll just burn coolly and slowly, and not get up into the canopy of the trees. And then it would be harmful to the park. It would also be a threat to the neighborhoods. So we're trying to knock things down and have less of a fire hazard. It also gives us a chance to get in and work. And if you can see the photo, we've got people out on the hills planting some trees where we've decided that they would be appropriate. And one of the activities is moving mulch to keep the weeds down so that our young saplings can grow well. I'll show you one of our results. Is still they're still small from our last planting, but we are having a success. And I'll show you one success of a community member helping us out with posing with the tree that he planted, or he planted the buckeye seed, and now he's got a little buckeye tree, and it's still there. It's getting better. We've had some learning experiences. The cages that we were provided by H.T. Harvey could have been more effective. And so this little guy has been chewed, but it's doing well. It'll get, we have a threat of gopher and squirrels in the park, which is great for coyotes and some of the other wildlife that like to feed on them. And so, you know, we are trying to monitor what's going on in the park and also share it with our friends, particularly on Facebook. And so I'd like to share a little video that I have, an example that we captured with a trail camera that Lee Pauser was good enough to loan to us. Let me start this again. Give you some idea. You go out at midnight, you might see something like this. So we have coyotes, we have bobcats. We do occasionally have deer come through. Oops. Okay, I think I stopped. I killed it. So it is still a beautiful park. I have examples of some pictures that apparently it's a little bit problematic to try to share
Well, I tell you what, while you work on some of those pictures,
Yeah.
let me ask some questions that we received. Acorns take so long to grow into trees. Why not just buy established blue oak trees and plant them?
That's a good question.
Yeah, and you want Lee, you want to take that while Dave works on some pictures?
Okay.
Well, one of the problems with buying plants from a nursery is there's concern about the pathogens that you may introduce into the park. Also, oak trees have a very long taproot, so you would need a special pot, a deep pot, in order to start one of those oaks. But again, there's a concern about pathogens. If we bring even acorns in from other parks, are we introducing pathogens into the park? So this year, I think, was a bumper crop for the acorns, although it was early. It was earlier than in past years. So we would prefer to use acorns from within the park to plant in the park. I hope that answers.
That's a good. It looks like we got the slideshow working.
Well, yeah, but now I got I goofed it up. Sorry.
Well, I had a question from the public. It says, "What wildlife will I see if I go to the park?" And I don't know if Star or Lee could take that question while Dave continues to work on the slideshow.
Well, I could say something about if you're a birder or interested in birding. My wife is a very active birder, and she has found, I believe, over 110 species of birds in the park. Now, not all of them nest in the park. Some are the migratory birds. Right now, the migration is underway. So you could see birds, for example, coming from the north through San Jose, heading to the south. And as far as animals, Dave showed that we do have coyotes. You can see coyotes in the daytime also. But personally, I haven't seen any deer in the park for some years. It used to be we would see maybe 4 or 5 deer together grazing in the park.
How about wild boar?
I've not seen wild boar. I have seen bobcats in the park. I'm sure Dave has seen bobcats also.
Yes, we have. Can you hear me all right? I'm just seeing my slides. Are you seeing my slides?
No, we just see the video presentation.
Oh, no kidding. Gosh darn it. Well, I'm going to try one more time here.
I've actually seen a lot of woodpeckers in the park, and it's beautiful. I've never, you don't get to see a woodpecker up close unless, and in this park, you could see woodpeckers all the time. You can look at the trees that they inhabit too. It's a beautiful park. Um, Tell
Yeah,
us a little bit more about the learning circle for the or outdoor classroom, Star, if you could.
Yeah, sure. It's been in process for a couple of years now, just because we want to make sure that the neighborhood is a part of it and knows what's going on. But it will be just a gathering circle for groups, small groups to come in, and if somebody wanted to teach about birds, if somebody wanted to uh, bring students in to tour the park. It's a gathering space that they can use while teaching what they may find in the park. So we're hoping that we'll start maybe by the end of this year, the beginning of the next year, to build, and it will look. It won't be intrusive looking. It will look a lot like the natural environment of the park. So we're excited about that.
Yeah, and the learning circle will be right near the restroom if anybody's interested.
So it's
Yes.
always good to have a restroom near a learning circle. I did get other questions. The park used to have so many wildflowers. What happened, and how can we bring them back?
Yeah, so as we've alluded to, we have all these invasive grasses, and they're choking them out. So that's what the problem is, that they just aren't getting enough sunlight and access to the moisture that they need, because it's being hogged up by these invasive grasses. So what we're doing is trying to clear them out, and there's a lot of different techniques. There's actually something we probably would like to consider, but is a little bit of a concern because of the neighborhood surrounding the park, is a controlled fire burn. Helps regenerate the flowers, that it clears out the grasses and gives a kickstart to the seed bank that's still in the ground. But we are trying to clear the grass with the goats and sheep and with the weed whackers, and we're being very carefully collecting seed to try to put them in locations where it's a great opportunity for them to grow. I do want to go back to a little bit about the wildlife, because first of all, there are deer that come in there that with still maybe not as much. One concern we have is to track what's going on there, but there's occasionally deer in there that I've caught on your critter cam, Lee, so I know they're there, and you can see them if you go out to our Facebook page and look for our videos or our photos. But there's all kinds of things. You never know what you're going to find. There's tarantulas. There's gopher snakes and king snakes and western fence lizards and skinks and snails, and keep your eyes peeled and look. You might find paw prints of the coyote. You just never know, and that's part of the fun. Is it's a surprise, but it's just a great habitat. And so something that we're doing to ensure that the wildlife is able to thrive in the park is by increasing the diversity of the habitat. So it's a difficult thing to manage. It's a small place, but it's really what we have left. We don't have these large ranges of it's mostly where we live now, with our suburbs. But so we're trying to keep a diversity of habitats for the wildlife. So in addition to the trails for the people, we have hiding places for the animals. We are encouraging a diversity of the native shrubs that have berries. So there's toyinberry and elderberry and hillside gooseberry. And we want to keep a diversity of these things so that the various wildlife have the food sources that they need. So we're doing the best we can with a small little place. But we welcome everybody's ideas. We'd love to have you join us. And if you think we're doing something wrong, let us know. We are trying to, and you know, uh, thankfully, Councilmember Khamis has been very thoughtful and recognized this as a real gem, and was able to find the resources for us to bring in environmental experts that created a vegetation management plan that got us going, that have educated us, so that you know, we're doing the right thing, you know, for the wildlife habitat and for fire safety as well.
Yeah, I'd like to add one comment to the wildflower question. Why aren't there any wildflowers? And I've been in the park where I see a family walking. The little girl has her hands full of flowers. So she's picked the flowers, which means that flower is not going to generate any seeds. The shooting star, which we no longer see in the park, takes 7 years before it blossoms. You pick the pretty flower, and you know, you yourself are adding to the decline of the flowers in the park. So we would like to discourage any picking of flowers, leave it there so other people can enjoy it. And Dave, it would be good for you, I think, to show you your zone map if you want to talk about the different areas of the park. Is that
Well,
possible?
while you get the zone map up, I wanted to remind people on Facebook and and Zoom that they could put their questions in the question area. And I don't know if Adrian from my office has gotten any questions from the public, but Adrian, did we get any questions so far from our viewers?
Yeah, we do have a few questions that we can jump into now.
Yeah, let's shoot one by.
All right. So the first question is that there were efforts to attract more owls to help with the squirrel problems. Has that been successful?
I could talk about the barn owls. The city currently has 2 barn owl boxes in the park. Both were occupied last year, and the barn owl boxes have been there for years, and they've been occupied. The thing about barn owls is they can hunt in an open woodland. The ideal habitat for a barn owl is open grassland. So parts of Guadalupe Oak Grove Park were and sort of continue to remain open woodland. So they can hunt in there. As the park converts to a closed woodlands, we won't have the owls. And people may be thinking about ground squirrels. Ground squirrels are too big for barn owls. Barn owls are out at night, ground squirrels are out in the daytime, which is another problem. The prey for the barn owls could often be a pocket gopher, mice, small birds even. So it's the smaller rodents that typically feed the owls. And yes, there's a lot of rodents in the park. In regard to the coyote could take down the ground squirrels. It would be beneficial if we could have coyotes running around on the hills, but that won't happen. It's a very popular park. A lot of people walk their dogs in the park, and just the presence of humans in the park drive the coyotes away.
Okay, and you know, we're all learning here, and I think you know, it's the point of sharing the information and getting together. But I'm a little surprised at Lee pointing out there is an impact with lots of people coming out to the park, and particularly with COVID. We've realized, boy, we need these natural places, and I think it's great that people are getting out there. But it is a discouragement to the wildlife. But they're out there. At least the coyotes are out there. I saw one yesterday. So I know they're there. And we've got
I keep getting reports on next door that there's a lot of coyotes in the area. So
yeah. But they do keep, you know, nature is a thing where you've got to balance. And if we are concerned about all the ground squirrels, those coyotes are doing a great job of keeping their populations in check, and they are. I did want to also point out that so Lee has, you know, been working with his bird boxes, but these owl boxes were brought in as part of the city's integrated pest management. as a way of addressing some rodent problems. Correctly?
No, they existed prior to that. The sign about the integrated pest management program came up. Originally, there were 3 barn owl boxes, but they were of poor quality construction and they literally fell apart. And then the city, for the longest time, ignored. I got my cat walking in front of me here. The city basically ignored the barn owl box program after it was initially started. And then it was kind of rejuvenated. So since rejuvenation, the barn owl boxes were replaced and we're down to 2 boxes. There's enough prey in the park to support several boxes, several families of barn owls. But the barn owls typically lay 5 to 6 eggs. And depending on the availability of prey, that number may decrease. The weather really affects the success of barn owl nesting. If we get a normal rainfall, and by normal I mean we may see some rain in November, more rain in December, more rain in December, I'm sorry, January, February, and then a tapering off in March. That would be a normal rainy season. Last year, we didn't get any rain in February. So if we don't get rains, the grasses don't grow, the rodents don't have anything to feed on, and the rodent population is down. So the rodent population down means that the barn owl hen doesn't get enough protein to lay eggs. She may have smaller clutches. If the prey base doesn't come back, she may abandon her eggs because her mate doesn't feed her enough. She has to get out of the box and go feed herself. So barn owls are affected, of all the species that I deal with, barn owls are more affected by the weather and the environment than any other species. Last year, one of the barn owl boxes in the valley floor portion of the park, I think had 2 barn owl outlets in it, and we added 2 more rescued barn owls from the Wildlife Center of Silicon Valley. So we pushed the box occupancy up to 4, and all 4 fledged. Unfortunately, one was found below the box, a pile of feathers. So they come out of the box, they're not necessarily street smart, and they become prey to red-tailed hawks, typically is one of their major predators. The other barn owl box is located along Vargas, and I didn't monitor the box, nor did the city. Because of the virus, the city didn't really monitor the boxes.
And one of the red-tailed hawk and also the red-shouldered hawks, which tend to be more likely to fly amongst the oaks, or a couple of the hawk species that you might get to see in the Oak Grove, as well as Cooper's hawks and sharp-shinned hawks. You never know what you might be lucky to see, but you'll probably see something interesting. So Lee mentioned, I forget what the zone map or something of that nature. I put up a map that the H.T. Harvey environmental consultants created for the different ecosystems in the park. So we've got the mixed oak woodland, mixed oak savanna meaning more.
I think it went away, but
it went away.
Yeah.
Darn it.
It was up for a long time, but it went away.
Okay. Anyway, it's just so you see that there's a diversity of habitats, and we're trying to keep that diversity. One of the things that have been concerned about is one of those type of oak woodland habitats expanding, and being more predominant than we think it should, to have a varied amount of different habitats.
Okay, we only got a few minutes left. I wanted to see if we could see if any more questions from the public. And Star, since you are our leader here in the Friends of, Can you explain what the Friends of do and how often they meet and how people could join, please?
Yeah, sure. So we meet once a month. We were meeting in the community building, but now we get to meet on Zoom. Yay! Um, we welcome the community members to join and participate. I know that a number of the members that already use the park do a great job of telling us what's happening in the park as well. They have eyes out, and well, we talk about many of the things that Dave and Lee discuss about how we see things happening month to month. You're welcome to join and participate. And we, like Dave mentioned, we have a tree planting on the 15th. So you can sign up for that. You can visit our Facebook page and give us a call even, send us an email, send us a note. And we'd love to hear about what you think and how you want to participate.
One of the best kept secrets might be that there's 2 reader boards in the park. So one is right near the restroom, and anybody interested in getting involved with the Friends group, look at the reader board. We have the links. We have QR codes. You can simply scan the QR code and send us an email.
That's awesome.
Events like the acorn planting, hopefully we will have posters on the board telling you how you can join that.
I could tell you and anybody who's listening out there, it gives you such great satisfaction to plant a seed and watch it grow. And I often come back and take a look at the trees that me and my sons have planted, and it's something that future generations are going to enjoy. I find the time volunteering at this park and in the other parks in the city of San Jose so fulfilling, and I encourage everybody to do so. It's just something that I know that the community will get a huge sense of fulfillment. Star, can you share the link to the on this chat box here? Oh, it looks like my folks did share a link. And let's see if we have any more questions before our time is up. We only have 10 minutes left.
Okay.
Any more questions from the public?
Well,
Yeah.
I would like to jump in and point out something that we've neglected to mention so far that I think is worth pointing out. And that is, so we're in addition to, planting more trees, we're really trying to protect the natural resources. And something here that is quite interesting is the archaeological sites that people may not be aware of. There is a former sandstone quarry where the original sandstones from that built Stanford came from. They found out the building material wasn't so great, and they found material elsewhere. But there's also, a history of the indigenous people there, and I just want to share a grinding hole that's in the park where the indigenous people ground their acorns and seeds that they collected while living in this area. And so, if you know where to look, if you keep your eyes open, you can see that. And so this little puddle, you're seeing that stone, right? Did I get it shared? Okay, very good. So you see it filled up with the rains with a little bit of water there, but that's a man-made what they call a mortar, where acorns would be ground with a pestle, a separate rock to grind them up. And so it really is a very special place.
It certainly is. It's a beautiful place. Did I get any more? I've seen a lot of nice comments from the public. Thank you from Gene Dresden, and Serge Barbier says, "Nice job, guys. Never knew about this park." Any other questions?
Yeah, so we have 2 more that we can get through, hopefully. So there's one question asking that there was a birding tour in the park some time ago. When will the next one be?
Well, my wife Jana conducted a bird walk. And typically, the best time for a bird walk would be at the peak of the nesting season, which is late April, early May. That's the time that you can see the most varieties of the birds. So the Audubon also has, if you contact the Santa Clara Valley Audubon Society and you're interested in bird walks, they have a number of them scheduled. But right now, this time of the year, it's the migrants. We have no plans for a bird walk. And people need to understand that on a bird walk, typically the birders are quiet. So, and you should have a pair of binoculars if you really, really want to look at the birds. So the last bird walk, we limited the age, I think nobody below age 12. And we limit the number of people too. So we would have a sign up sheet for number of people, for the people that want to attend the bird walk. But even if we follow all of these guidelines, nobody under 12, and limit the number of people to 12 or whatever, the walk can still be interrupted by joggers racing past, people coming past with dogs, etc. So you just have to understand that that's a real possibility. And yes, we can schedule another bird walk in the park if the Audubon Society doesn't have any. So there's the acorn woodpecker.
There you go.
Yes.
I was wondering when that picture was going to come up.
There's certainly plenty of acorn woodpeckers in the park, and it's really one of the attractions for the birders to come and see.
During COVID.
I would say if you're interested in an event like that, contact us. And we also have connections. I know the tribal chair of the Ama Mutsun tribe. I'm thinking when we get an educational circle or outdoor classroom, to bring people in for lectures like that. But if there's something like that you're interested in, contact us and we can arrange it. Any of us would be, I certainly would be happy to help guide a birding tour if people, like Lee's wife, who's such an expert, aren't available. We can make arrangements for you.
I think that would be a great idea and something for the Friends of to put together regular tours. And it could be a great way to attract volunteers. I'm hoping that you do take that up. I think there was one more questions before we end, right?
Looks like we have time for one last question. This one came in as we were watching the video of the coyotes. And the question is, where do the animals go during the day and why don't we see them?
I'm not completely certain. I think for the most part, there is a den area where they can, I suspect that video that we saw, typically the coyotes are alone or you see one or two and not a large family group. And so fortunately, because an individual coyote is really not much of a threat. That large family group was probably a pair and their offspring that were just raised in a den in the park. But for the most part, I think in the heat of the day, they find a sheltered tree to nap underneath, or kind of hidden away in the shrubs. That they are there. Somehow, it's difficult because the park has fencing all the way around, but the gates are open during the day, and some of the animals can get underneath. The deer, it's amazing, they can jump over fences. So they will move back and forth, I think, between the park, through a block or two of neighborhood to the creeks. Just to the north, there's the Guadalupe Creek, and to the east, there's the Los Alamitos Creek, and they can follow the park and go under Almaden Expressway in a culvert where the Gulf Creek goes under Almaden Expressway. So they move around, but I think there's enough activity of coyotes in the park that I think they have plenty of food source that they're staying, at least a couple of them stay in the park and probably curl up under a shrub. somewhere hidden away.
All right. Well, I want to thank my guests today, Dave and Lee and Star. You guys are all stars to me. I mean, you guys are fantastic leaders in our community, and I'm so happy to have met you, worked with you, and followed a lot of your advice. Thank you all for your volunteering in the community, especially in all our parks. And Star is our newest star, and I think taking on a big effort. I hope we can all help her and Dave and Lee to make this a successful effort. I want to, yes, well,
Oh, I just want to thank you, council member, for recognizing this beautiful place as a real gem and helping us get this ball rolling, hopefully for generations to come.
Me too, me too. And speaking of the next meeting and next generations here, I am leaving office in December 31st, and the next meeting, I have a conflict. I'm scheduled for two meetings at the exact same time. So our next, community connections, the community office hours will be hosted by Councilmember-elect Matt Mahan. And so tune in on Saturday for that, Saturday, November 14th at 10 a.m. And to submit your questions in advance, it'll be District 10 at sanjoseca.gov. Thank you all for joining us and have a wonderful day.